This 15-minute red pepper jelly is going to be one of the fastest and easiest jellies that you have ever made, and you are going to love having this on hand, not only during the holidays, but really year-round. But during the holidays, this is one of the fastest appetizers that tastes gourmet, looks gourmet, but literally it'll take you the time to pour it on a brick of cream cheese and open it, so you can have a festive appetizer in like less than a minute. And the great news is this is completely shelf stable, so it'll be at the ready whenever you need it. Now, I'm using red bell peppers because that looks very, very festive and also tastes delicious, but you could also do the same thing with green bell peppers or a combination therein. So to start with, you're gonna need 1 1/4 cups of diced peppers. If you want it to be on the spicier side, you can do 1/4 cup of jalapeno. I have a little bit of pimentos in this one for mine, but 1 1/4 cups total ratio of our peppers diced and prepped. We have got 5 cloves of minced garlic here, and then we have our vinegar. Now, this is white vinegar. You could also use apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar will give it a slightly different flavor. Just make sure your vinegar is at least 5% acidity for canning. And then we have got our pectin. So this brand of pectin, which is Pomona's Universal Pectin, this is the only pectin that I use. A lot of my jam and jelly recipes, you'll notice, do not use any outside source of pectin. However, when we're doing something like a red pepper jelly, there's not a lot of natural pectin source inside vegetables in comparison to a lot of our fruits. So I do use the outside pectin source for this so that we can get a nice gel on it and it's thick and spreadable and not a runny syrup. So Pomona's pectin, as I said, this is the only pectin that I use. It's a very natural pectin. You can get it from Azure Standard, who is a sponsor of today's video. I'll have a link beneath here in the video description, as well as a link to the blog post that has a complete written printable recipe so that you can print that out and make this recipe, because you definitely want to have this one on hand. But in your Pomona's pectin, you will have a packet of actual pectin that we have powdered here and measured out. And then you'll have a little packet of calcium that you mix with water that creates calcium water that you'll see, and both of these are in this recipe. And so this you'll mix up and it'll just store in the fridge for months. So what's great about this is this makes a lot of different recipes off of just one packet of this, or one box of this pectin. And you can use coupon code Melissa15 to get 15% off your first $100 order as a new customer through Azure Standard. You'll see that link below. It's also where I get my organic vinegar, as well as I've got the sugar. So for this recipe, we've got everything prepped. One of the things when you're using Pomona's pectin is we're going to take a 1/2 cup of our sugar here that we've already got measured out. And I'm going to put it in this little bowl here. And then we're going to combine our powdered pectin. And we want to get this nice and combined. And that way, when we add this to our jelly, when this is all combined, we won't have any clumping, and it's going to evenly distribute throughout our recipe so that we get that perfect set. Now we've got that combined and ready to go, and you do want to make sure that you've got all of your ingredients prepped, because this recipe goes really fast. So to our saucepan, we're going to add all of our minced peppers, as well as our minced garlic here. And then we're going to pour in our vinegar. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of our prepared calcium water here. So you always want to just stir it up right before you add it in. Make sure it's well combined. And there's 1 and 2. So now we're just going to stir this to combine the vinegar, the calcium water, our peppers, and garlic. And we want to bring this to a boil. So I've just got this over medium heat. So as soon as we reach our full boil here, we're going to go ahead and put in, this is what the sugar that we mixed our powdered pectin in with. We're going to stir and get that combined, and you're going to stir this for 2 minutes fairly vigorously. We want to bring this back up to a boil. This is what's going to activate the pectin and make sure that your jelly is actually gelled. Okay, so our 2 minutes is up. So now we're going to add in all the rest of our sugar, our very last ingredient here. And then you just want to stir that until it's completely combined and dissolved. Oh, you guys, it looks and smells so good. And then you want to just bring this back to a boil, and then you're going to turn it off. We don't want to scorch or burn our sugar, so just keep stirring that until it reaches a boil again, which with the sugar in here, it's not going to take it very long at all. And you can see here, we are definitely right back up to a boil. Just want to make sure that it is still bubbling even as we're stirring. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off now. So we've got our jars that are prepared here. They just came out of hot soapy water. You always want to make sure that your glass jars, when you're putting hot content into them, are not cold so you don't get thermal shock, and that they're sitting on a towel that's been folded in thirds. So we are going to ladle our hot red pepper jelly here into our jars to a 1/4 inch headspace. And I love this funnel set from 4 Jars because it has the headspace built in right into the funnel. So you can see exactly how full to get your jars. Now I'm just going to transfer this over to the next jar here. And we're going to go ahead and run this around to make sure that we don't have any air bubbles. A few times, there we go. And then we're going to double check our headspace again. We're right on the money, right at a 1/4 inch. And then I've got a damp towel here. You always want to make sure that you clean the rim of your jar so that nothing inhibits that seal. Wipe that clean. And then I've got my lids that were just washed again in that hot soapy water and rinse. We're going to put that on and then tighten your band down to fingertip tight. We're going to go down, no resistance, and then a 1/4 more turn. And now I've got I'm using a steam canner. You can use a steam canner or a hot water bath canner. And we're going to put our prepared jar right on top there and that. And we're going to then finish filling up the rest of our jars. So after we've got our jars filled here, we're going to go ahead and get the lid on our canner. And we're going to get this up to temperature on our steam canner, or if you're using a water bath, get it up to the full boil, and then we'll process this for 10 minutes. So we just did 10 minutes processing time, and then when you're doing a steam canner, you turn your heat off, and with the lid on, let it go another 5 minutes. Steam canner is slightly different than water bath canning in that aspect, but don't worry, in the blog post that I mentioned, the link below, we have got all kinds of information to walk you through that part. So now it is time to move our jars off the heat. And we'll let these sit undisturbed for 12 hours to seal. And then we have beautiful, look how pretty that is. Gorgeous red pepper jelly, all ready to go for the holidays. So we had a little bit left over, just enough to go in this jar, which I just put in the fridge, and it's still setting, but I just wanted to show you. Look at that jelly. It's perfect set so that you can actually pour it over a brick of cream cheese or smear it on crackers. I'll tell you one of my other favorite ways to use this is to use it as a glaze for meatballs or on top of meatloaf. This is one you probably are going to want to double or triple or make at least a few batches so you have enough for yourself and for some gift giving.